Welcome to Trauma Rockstars. I'm your tour guide. Before we dive into today's episode, have you taken the free Trauma Rockstars life audit yet? It takes less than 5 minutes, you guys, and it'll show you exactly where you're at in your healing journey. Go to traumarockstars.com or click on the link below in the show notes and take it now. All right, let's rock. Hey, all you rock stars out there. She's a badass and she's actually a rock star. You'll hear about her story, but she's a retired firefighter, which is near and dear to my heart. But she's also an advocate for women and bullying and just being your best self. And I think when you hear her story about how she got to where she is at this stage in her life, it's going to be really inspirational for a lot, but it's been a very tough journey for her as well. So, Lynette, welcome. I've been so
Thank
excited to talk
you.
to you. We last spoke like right after, I think it was in February. So it's been a minute. So I've been so excited to have you on the show. And thank you so much for your service. I think I told you that I'm a burn survivor.
You did.
And my brother is actually a firefighter as well. And, I hope maybe I inspired him a little bit, but I don't think I can take the credit for that. But thank you so much. And you were how many years? 18, 20 years you were a firefighter?
18 years in total. I was an auxiliary, so basically like a paid on call volunteer for 4 years. And then I was a full time career for 14 years.
Okay. And getting into that field, which is very tough, like to be a first responder in general is just no matter what branch you're in or what you're doing is very tough. But you probably never in a million years thought you were gonna encounter what you went through during that time.
No, no, I knew it would be tough because it is a tough job. It is something that is really hard to get into because there is usually a lot of people fighting for a spot.
Yeah.
So I knew that it would be difficult, but they took it to a different level.
And you being a minority in the field, very it's gotten a lot better, but it's very much a man's world still.
And it was an old boys club.
Yeah.
And in the department where I was hired, there had never been a female. So
Yeah, you were the first, right?
I was the first and ever. There never was another one. I wanted so badly for another sister to join the department while I was there, but there never was one. So it was just me.
So let's go back to how far back do you want to go?
As far back as you want to go.
What made you want to be a firefighter in the first place?
It was actually very random. I didn't have it in my bloodlines. I didn't have it in the family. It wasn't, watching movies and being like, oh, I want to be one of those one day when I was little. Like I had never even stepped foot in a fire department. We would have kids come in all the time and do school tours and things. And I never did that when I was young. I had never been in the fire hall until I got an interest in fire investigation. I was
Okay.
actually a hairstylist. I owned my own salon for 15 years. It was very physical. I loved to lift heavy weights and standing behind a chair was literally killing me. And I
Mhm.
thought I want to do something that is more intriguing, piqued my curiosity. So I started looking into fire investigation because when I get an inkling for something, I can be like a total private investigator. So I thought, well, that would be a really cool job. And then the more I looked into it, you didn't actually have to be a firefighter to be an investigator. So I thought, well, I would make myself more valuable if I got the training, the firefighter training, so that I would know what goes on the inside first with the firefighters
Mm.
before I come in to do the investigation. Like it would just make me more valuable in
Yeah.
the industry.
And better at what you're doing because you've got firsthand knowledge and it's allowing you maybe to earn that respect and take your career to another level by taking that initiative.
Yeah, I just thought fire investigation, that was where it was going to stop.
Yeah.
And then I went to firefighter school. And again, I was the only female in my class with like 25 guys. And I fell in love with it. Like I loved the adrenaline rush. I loved the peak performance, like getting in there and sweating and working hard. And the thought of rescuing someone and being there on their absolute worst day. Like I fell in love with every part of it. And I came home and thought, fire investigation is not happening. I want to be an actual firefighter.
How was your experience going through the training in the school?
Amazing. The
Okay.
guys were so welcoming. We were a team. There was camaraderie. There was like sisterhood, brotherhood. Like it was everything that you think it's going to be. And so that's what I imagined that working in a fire department was going to be. But it
Mhm.
was not like that at all.
Yeah. So you get through the academy. It's called an academy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get through that, which is grueling because I know, what my brother went through, and it's not for the faint at heart by any means. You get through that, and so you get accepted into a station, right?
No, I had to apply because I was only an auxiliary. I was a paid on call.
Okay.
So I took that first before even going to fire school because I wanted to be able to know how to run certain equipment, how to put my gear on properly. Like I knew nothing about it. So I thought, well, why not be a volunteer? Because I had talked to some of my classmates and that's what they were doing. They volunteered at different halls. And I thought, well, maybe I should do that too. So even that, trying to get in as a volunteer, they made it difficult. They made it very clear that I wasn't wanted. And I'm the type of person, though, that when you tell me I can't do something, then I will show you that I can.
Yeah.
I'm stubborn enough that way. And so then when I came out of fire school, I started applying for positions as they came open within the department. And the position was coming open, and it rightfully should have been mine due to my years of experience. I was a volunteer. Um, the way that I scored on the interview, all of the pieces that were involved. And the chief actually met with me privately and he said, I need you to trust me. The position that this will be with is a captain that had literally made my life hell up to that point. And he said, I morally cannot put you on that crew. If you can wait 3 months, there's another position coming open with a captain that respected me, that treated me like an equal. And he said, that is where you will be safe. My department will be okay. You will be okay. Just trust me. I did. And I had a huge respect for him as a leader for doing that
100%. Yes.
because I know that if I would have been put on the crew with the captain that was awful, to put it mildly, one of us would have ended up in jail for sure.
Mhm.
Probably
So
me.
what? So he kind of took you under his wing and was, giving you that I've got your back, which is wonderful. Like I think that's like you said, you respect most leaders should do that because they should know where their people will thrive the best. So you're like, okay, I can wait 3 more months. What
Yeah.
happened?
And those that didn't want me there made his life hell too. Like they totally blacklisted him. They ended up getting him fired eventually down the road. But if he hadn't have been willing to take a chance on me and give me a shot, I never would have had a career. So I am forever thankful to him for that. But
Uh-huh.
he was just as blacklisted as I was.
Are y- are where you are you union employees?
These were my
So
union brothers that did this.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, but the union I've never been a part of a union, but the union is supposed to protect you.
Yeah. They were the ones that fought against me.
So, yeah, so you wait 3 months, you get into this other firehouse with this
It's
team
there's
that's supposed to be good, right?
Yes. So it's all at the same firehouse. We only have one.
Okay.
And then there's four captains, so there's four crews. So the one that I ended up going on, like everybody overlaps eventually on shifts and
Yeah.
stuff.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yes, it's just one fire hall. So I get the position and it is my very first day at work. And I walk into a fire hall that I've known for 4 years. And I'll tell you, you could cut the air with a knife. Like everything felt different. It was heavy. It was scary. And I proceeded throughout my morning of doing paperwork and doing the things that I needed to do as a first day on the job.
Mhm.
They had to teach me how to make coffee because I didn't even know, I don't drink coffee, so I didn't even know how to make it. And it's a staple. So as
Yeah.
a rookie, you have specific jobs and things that you have to do. And I was downstairs doing some chores. I'd just come back from my paperwork, and the captain that was on shift was the one that the chief had not given me to, like the one that he had caused me trouble already. And he said, I need you to come with me. We're going to have a little chat. And so he took me into the dispatch room and he closed the door and he closed the window, motioned for a chair for me to sit down. And he said, you did it. You must be so excited. Best day of your life. But there's something that you need to know. We've all been in agreement. And if you get yourself into any kind of trouble, we're not coming to save you. You're on your own. And
I just got like, first of all, I want to puke. I just got nauseous listening to that.
every part of me literally shut down. I could see his mouth still moving, but I have no idea what he was saying because I literally like blacked out sitting there. The fear and panic that took over because everything we do is 2 in, 2 out. You do everything in pairs. Like nobody does anything alone.
Yeah.
You're literally in life and death situations. And he just told me that they had all had conversations and they were all in agreement and I was on my own.
But yet you're supposed to go to bat for them if they get in trouble, knowing that they will literally leave you for dead.
And I knew I had a few friends in there because I had made some good friendships, but I didn't know to what extent that these conversations had gone on. I mean, I was an outsider and not only the only female, but an outsider coming in as a newbie. And I did not want to find out if what he said was true or not. And it impacted my career greatly until I finally, well over a decade later, got the guts to finally speak up and tell somebody what had been done. Like I lived with that in the back of my mind at every call I went to. Everything that I did was like, don't mess up, don't get yourself into any kind of trouble. Like, you can do this. Like, it was pep talk the whole entire time. So I know that I didn't get to, for the majority of my career, do it to the best of my capabilities because I had that fear always in the back of my mind.
Lynette, what do you remember when you're behind closed doors with him? What did you respond?
He just said, "Do you understand?" And I just kind of shook my head. Like that was as much as I could do. Like I literally was frozen. My insides, I thought they were going to explode. Like it was fear unlike anything I had ever experienced. And then he just kind of smiled and was like, it was no big deal. And then he got up to leave. And I literally had to use the counter to steady myself because my legs, like my body was shaking. And I thought, who am I even going to tell? Because it had been drilled into me that hiring a female was nothing but trouble. And there had been a couple females hired shortly before me in another department in my province. And one of them had died by suicide because they had bullied her so bad. And there was lawsuits against the guys. And so some of the guys from my department were like, see, that's what happens when you hire a female. So I promised them that I would not cause any trouble. I'm like, I'm not one of those girls. I'm here to learn. I'm here to do a job. Like I promise you, I won't cause any waves. And I stuck to that. I sacrificed my own well-being to keep them comfortable and kept secrets to keep them comfortable for pretty much my entire career.
After that conversation, was there anybody that you worked with that you were able to confide in?
No, because I didn't know whose side they were
Couldn't
on.
trust anyone.
No, I didn't tell anybody. The only person I told was my mom.
So you went in every shift with this. How many were on your team?
It was four of us.
So you went in every single shift knowing that you cannot let your guard down at all. You cannot turn your back on anybody because you can't trust them. And you have very long shifts. Did you have 12, 24-hour shifts?
We worked 2 10-hour days and 2 14-hour nights and then 4 off.
Yeah.
But we were on call with a pager in between. So those 4 days I was theirs if needed. And so the majority of the time, like my crew was really good that I worked with. I still wasn't sure, but when things went sideways, it was the entire department that came, which meant all of the ones that I knew I couldn't trust, that made it very clear that I wasn't welcome. They told me on numerous times, "You're a really nice girl, but we just don't want you here." And I'm like, "Okay, that's cool."
But yet you're like literally, firefighters. You walk into the danger. You're doing the walking into the fires, doing the search and rescues, doing, all of that. But yet did you go in literally like fearing your life?
There was times when I was nervous and
Like on specific calls, I'm sure.
yeah. And like I said, I just would give myself pep talks. Like the conversations that were happening in my head the whole time was like, just, okay, you can do this. Just don't make any mistakes. Just watch what you're doing. Be really careful. Stick with your partner. Don't mess up. That's what I played in my head the entire time.
And just to add fuel to the fire, not to pardon, the pun, you were in a very small town on
Yeah.
top of it.
Yeah. 12,000 people.
Yeah. So what finally, because I want to talk about like your life now and all that. I want to get into that and everything. But what was finally the breaking point for you?
I had changed everything about myself. And I actually, of all random things, got into a network marketing business with some women because I had lost all female friends. Like I did everything. I was all men that I worked with. I didn't wear anything feminine anymore, like nothing,
Yeah.
Sexy, revealing, like nothing. And I had lost all parts of my feminine side. And I thought, yeah, this might be kind of fun. I mean, I went from being a hairdresser. So having lots of girlfriends and lots of clients.
Like girly, yeah.
Yeah, I was very outgoing to being very isolated and very serious. Like I didn't know how to have fun anymore. Everything I was, hyper vigilant. I was looking for threat at every corner. And I thought this might be actually kind of fun, like get me together with some girls and stuff. And it was shampoo. So I'm like, okay, well, that's like kind of my past. So that was how it started, was I just kind of found some girls that I could like hang out with again and started to like feel good about myself. And then I thought, you know what? I need to do a little bit more for myself. So then I started doing a little bit more intensive with counseling. And I'd always done that, but
Yeah.
not for, I always did it for the job because I knew that things could be tough. So I always wanted to make sure that I took care of myself that way. But I never ever realized that trauma could be from betrayal, from the experiences that I had with the guys on in authority,
Mm.
misogyny, bullying, discrimination. Like I never realized that that could actually be traumatic. And it was a counselor that said to me, "That's abuse." What? And it was just like a slap across the face. And I thought, my goodness, okay. So then I started to dig into that a little bit more and getting really honest with myself.
Mm.
And it was actually hypnotherapy that was the game changer for me.
Well, I want to talk to you about that too, because since last time we talked, I actually had my first hypnotherapy session myself.
Okay.
And I do want to talk to you a little bit about that. I have that on, I made a note of it because I didn't want to forget to talk about that. But I wanted to ask you, you had told me that you grew up in an abusive relationship or in a abusive household, right?
Yes. Yes.
Um, is that where that badass strength comes from? Because it's the way, you coped with that you just literally run into the fire. Like that's what you did with this career.
I think that it was, I didn't consider it to be a badass strength. I just assumed in my life that vulnerability meant I was weak. So you had to put on a facade. And I mean, I grew up in an abusive home as a child. Then I went into abusive relationships. Then I went into an
Yeah.
abusive workplace. Like it just was this theme across my life.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until all of a sudden I realized, because I refused to be a victim and I refused to be vulnerable, that all of a sudden one day it was just like, I am actually a victim. Like, and that's where I started to get vulnerable
Hmm.
and be super honest with myself. I was like, I have been living a facade. Nobody actually knows who I am. I don't even know who I am. So how
Yeah.
can anybody else? Like I've put on
Yeah.
this super strong demeanor because I will not want you to ever realize that I have feelings. I didn't cry for like 9 years
Yeah.
because I was told in the fire hall that that was one thing I was not allowed to do, was I was not allowed to cry. So I didn't. So I stuffed it all in, and I'll show you how tough I can be. But I was punching holes in walls and I was dying inside. So it was a pattern. And I know a lot of people, when you start to recognize it, it actually is a pattern throughout your life.
Mhm.
And men in authority, starting from my dad into aggressive men in relationships into the men
Yeah.
in authority positions in my job. And I stood on my own 2 feet, shaking, and I had given my power away every step along the way. And then all of a sudden one day, I'm like, you know what? I'm standing on my own 2 feet. And it was in my hypnotherapy session that she had me come in as my current self and said, "What do you want to say to this girl that's sitting here?" And I said,
Yeah.
"Stand on your own 2 feet, get up."
Mm.
And from that moment forward, I've stood in my power and I've stood my ground, and I have actual strength because I am very vulnerable now.
I think it's so powerful, a couple things that you said, and I agree with you 100%. When you go through trauma, especially severe trauma, trauma is trauma. It doesn't matter what you've been through, what I've been through. We've both been through trauma. But it's so funny you said that nobody knew who I was because I didn't even know who I was. I was the same way for years. I didn't even know who the hell I was, what I wanted, anything. It's so funny that you said about how you associated, being vulnerable as a bad thing, where that's the actual being vulnerable is the actual thing that makes you learn who you are.
Totally. And I learned it, and I always say this in my generation anyways, it was always be a good little girl, be seen and not heard
Yeah.
everywhere that we went. So I was told from
Yeah.
a very young age, you don't have a voice. So I
Mm.
just that just carried through.
Have you ever heard the saying, just because I carry it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy?
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it was so heavy.
It had to have been debilitating at times.
I was in so much pain on a daily basis, and I'm in very good physical condition. Like I
Yeah.
Thank goodness. Like I go to the gym every day. I was in peak physical condition. There
Yeah.
wasn't anything that I couldn't do. I just had to do it a little bit differently than the guys, but I would always find a way. I'm strong for my size and being for a girl. Like I am strong, but I just had to find a different way. I forget where I was going with this.
Well, because I was talking about how just because you wear it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy, and
Oh
you were
yeah.
talking about how strong you are physically.
But I was in so much pain.
Mhm.
Chiropractors couldn't fix it. Acupuncture, massage, all of the
'Cause it
things.
was 'cause it was trauma in your nervous system.
It was suppressed emotions.
Yeah.
I had stuffed everything down and it caused me so much grief for, well, almost 2 decades.
What was your aha moment?
With which part?
Just getting out of it, getting out of the fire department.
Uh, they totally screwed me over on a promotional position that should have been mine.
Okay. Of
And
course.
yeah, and I thought, "You know what? This has been 14 years and it's still not changing. And if you have to be the change that you wanna see." Like that was kinda where I started to live by. And
Mhm.
I thought nothing's going to change unless I decide to change it. And so I walked in and I handed them my early retirement paper and they were shocked. And I was like, plot twist. That was all I said because I
When
wanted to leave on my terms.
your terms.
Yeah,
When you said you didn't have the backing of your union, was there an option? I think the answer is no, because knowing you probably would have, but was there an option to even go higher than that?
I did at one point reach out to like the higher parts. It was to do with the promotional position and what was happening with that because they changed the posting to suit somebody else external to eliminate
Mhm.
me. And I caught them in it because I actually, like I said, a little private investigator that I am.
Yeah.
So I went higher and he even said to me, this has never been done. Like I don't even know what to do with this because usually as a union you're fighting management,
Yeah.
but I wanted to file a grievance against my union brother. And he was like, I don't even know what to do. I'm gonna have to like look into this. And I thought, you know what? I don't even want to fight this anymore. Like I had fought my way
Yeah, because
and
you could have hired an attorney probably at that point.
I would probably be a millionaire if I wanted to have sued for all of the things that were done. I have thousands of pages because I wrote down everything, not ever knowing what for. It was just for therapy for myself. But when decided to write my book, I went back through and I was like, oh my God. Like the things that I had wrote down, the things that they had done, the things they said, the dates, the times, the who was
Mhm.
present. And that I think was the hardest part for me was all of those that witnessed it happen and never said a word.
Yeah, nobody had your back.
No, no, they were
After
as
you
scared as I was.
after you retired and got out of there, did anybody reach out?
There's quite a few of them that have completely disowned me because what happened there should stay there. It should be a big secret. And I wrote it all in a book. I
Yeah.
went on
Well,
a podcast first, and the podcast aired the day after I retired.
okay.
And so then all hell broke loose because there was this big, huge thing. And HR reached out to me and said, like, do we need to do a big investigation? And I'm like, where have you been for 14 years? Like, you don't get to
Yeah.
come in now. I said, and half of those guys are gone. So what is the point? You're going to turn the place upside down and for what? I said, you weren't there for me then. So you don't get to come in now and cause a ruckus. I said, the only thing that I want, I will never name names because they don't get that much credit. It's not
Mhm.
their story, it's mine. So this is about me. Only thing that I want is to be able to tell my story without any issues, without any interruption. I think you
Mhm.
guys owe me that. And they said, okay,
What came first, your, hypnotherapy or your book?
hypnotherapy. I
Okay,
did that. I did that for
let's
like
go there.
I did
Let's
that
go
for like
there.
2 years before I
Yeah,
retired.
okay, okay, so which probably put you in a good place to be able to put that resignation in, I'm sure.
It did.
So, let's talk about your hypnotherapy because it's really magical what it the ability of what it does, and now I know because I could talk to you about this because I just did it about a month ago.
It literally
What
changed my life.
Yeah, what turned you on to hypnotherapy in the first place?
I watched a girl on Instagram and
Okay,
I was intrigued, was like, no, I was skeptical. And so I watched her for a year.
okay.
And there was just something that she said one day in her stories. And I had reached that point finally in my healing journey where I was like, I'm going to do it. And so I filled out the consultation form on her website. And she was local to me. And I had never met her before. I didn't even realize that she was local to me. And that was
Wow.
something very scary to me because nobody knew anything. Even my counselor that I had seen for years only knew bits and pieces. The
Right.
only person that knew my whole story was my mom. And so I thought, am I going to have the guts to actually be open enough to say something? And I guess if she tells people, then she tells people. Like I just kind of had to have that. I was at
Yeah.
the point where I needed to get to another level and I couldn't do it with any of the things that I was doing. So I thought,
Okay.
well, I'm going to give it a try. And so I said to her when we did the consultation, I said, I bought your biggest package of 6 sessions because I'm going to be a project and you're probably not going to be able to hypnotize me. And she laughed and she said, okay, I love a challenge.
Yeah, I was gonna say she's probably like, "Challenge accepted."
She did. She totally did.
You of
Um,
all people know better than to challenge a woman like that.
but I know myself and I know how, like, if I want to block it off and shut it off. And I thought, the only one that I would be hurting is myself. If I'm not open enough to do this, the only one that I'm hurting is me. So I thought, you know what, just be fully open and be vulnerable and be honest. I had lied to myself for pretty much my entire life to live this facade that I was living. And so getting brutally honest with myself was the biggest piece and the hardest part. And I thought if I can get honest with myself, then I guess I can get honest with her. And so our first session was very gentle. And then the second session was an absolute rodeo. And that took me to the depths of things that I didn't even understand at first. And it wasn't where she had intended either. She was like, this is going to be super fun. This is what we're going to do. And she was all excited.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, she was like, holy fuck, what? Both of us were like, oh, wow. But that's what changed my life.
Yeah, I will say anybody listening, that is thinking about hypnotherapy, it is incredible. It's an incredible experience, and I can tell you, don't go in with any expectations because I went in wanting something very specific. I wanted to see something very specific going in. Hell no, that didn't happen. What happened is what the universe and my subconscious and my guides wanted and knew I needed to see at that time. It was nothing at all what I had gone in wanting, but it was incredible. It was magical.
Same, same. Yep.
Oh, talk a little bit. This was your second session. Completely turned your life upside down in a good way.
Yep.
How long was your session?
Hour and a half,
And
hour,
okay.
hour and 45 minutes, maybe. Enough to turn my world upside down and back again in a very short period of time.
Did you at that time, because it does afterwards, it does take some time to absorb and marinate everything that happened. You have a lot of reflection after too, but did it give you the clarity that you needed right away?
Immediately. It removed the fear and it removed that emotion that I had had around all of these particular events. If anybody understands like subconscious and, hypnotherapy, I went into a past life regression, which I had no idea what that was.
That's what I wanted to do. That
Okay.
I went in wanting to do a past life regression, but that's not what happened.
It-
But that's okay because I got what I needed.
and that wasn't where she was taking me. That wasn't her plan. That's where my
Well,
subconscious decided that we were going.
that's where the
We went,
universe, yeah, it
we
gives you
went
what
into
you
this.
need.
It did.
Yeah.
It really did.
Okay.
Showed starting in my current life with my most recent experience, and then back through the experiences at the beginning of the fire hall, back into when I was a child with my father, and then
Mhm.
into past life where I was in like a clay hut. Like I was, and then into like medieval times. I was actually on the floor in a castle in rags, scrubbing the floor. And I can still smell it. It was mildewy and
Were
damp.
you a woman in all the lives?
Was.
Okay.
I
Okay.
was. And then there was a man standing over me, beating me with a stick. And that was when she had me as my current self come in and say, what do you want to say to her? And I was like, stand up, stand on your own 2 feet, stand up. And she stood up and we held hands and we walked back up those stairs and out the door. And all of the fear left. We went back through all of the pieces that we had gone through going in. I had no emotions tied to any of the pieces with my childhood, the fire department. It was actually the opposite. Like I had so much fear around the beginning stages of the fire hall
Mhm.
when we went into the session. And when we came back to that spot coming out, I was actually laughing and skipping down a hallway. Like I was just like light and airy. There was nothing there that bothered me whatsoever. And I still I can see it. I can talk about it. And it does
Yeah.
used to take my breath away. Like, it would hit me so hard
Yeah.
in the chest that I felt like I was almost having, like, an asthma attack. I felt like my lungs were closing off and I couldn't breathe.
That's one thing that's so true. That's I wanna say with the hypnosis. So you don't don't have any expectations going in there because you're gonna get what you need at the time. It's not gonna be what you think you need. You're gonna get what you need at the time. But the also thing is, it does give you so much clarity and peace, and after it doesn't shut off. It just sticks with you. It's like a total shift.
It's literally like I took every piece of armor, every piece of weight I was carrying, and it just now it's just sitting over there,
Gone.
gone. I can see it. The memories are still there, but it has no effect on me whatsoever anymore.
So
Like
how
the
were your other 4 sessions?
I mean, they've all been amazing. There is not any session that I've had, and I still, like, every once in a while will have one just for, like, with public speaking or,
Yeah,
whatever it is that I'm needing.
right.
But as far as removing, like, the actual traumatic pieces, we finished those off within my 6 sessions, but I would
Yeah,
say probably within the first 4, my life completely changed. And
that's
then I
incredible.
was able to actually take a break for a little bit because we were doing them 2 weeks apart,
Yeah,
and then we moved them to, like, a month apart, and then I think the last one I did was 3 months, 4 months
yeah.
afterwards, because I was like, "I'll do it when I need it."
Mhm. And it's funny because I don't know if you feel like now that I did that and I saw what I saw, I am like I'm ready for my next one. I wanna go in and see as much as I can now. You know,
It's
I'm so
addicting.
stoked. It is
Yeah,
addicting.
it is. It really is because it is unlike anything you can experience any other way.
Yeah.
And it's you. Like, people are a
Yes.
lot really worried about hypnotherapy because they think they have no control. And that was one of the things that I was worried about because you see the people
Yeah.
stage and it's all theatrical and
And they
it's
have him
all
dancing like a chicken and
great.
stuff. It's so stupid. Yeah, that's
And she
not
she said to me, "At any time, you can open your eyes. Like, you're
Yep.
in full control." She said, "People will get up." The girl that I seen, even though we're in the same town, all of her sessions were virtual because people feel more comfortable in their own home.
right.
So she said people would get up and go to the bathroom in the middle of a
Oh,
session.
yeah, I was gonna say, I could have gotten up and gone to the bathroom if I wanted to. You're
Yeah,
very aware of the entire thing while it's happening.
yeah. But I just
That
didn't want to stop. I was so into it, and I was like, I want to see where this is going to go. That there was no stopping. I knew that I was in full control. And
oh,
it's not
same.
what people think. Because I know a lot of people have said, "Oh, that scares me. There's no way I could give up and have somebody else control my mind like that." I'm like, she's not. She's literally
Yeah,
just giving your subconscious some direction and it takes the reins. And let me tell you, when it does, it takes you where you need to go.
it does, and it does it in such a loving way, though, and there were times during my session was about the same, it was a couple hours, and I remember there were a couple I don't wanna say scary parts, but some parts as I was going through the journey that was a little uneasy, but I was like I was fine, I'm like, "No, I can do this," so I just kept moving forward and, through the journey, um, and it was incredible, like, what I was seeing, and afterwards, it took me a few days probably just to kinda, like I said, marinate everything that I saw and that was shown to me, but it's truly a gift.
Yeah, it just gave me all of the answers that I needed for myself.
So, is that where you got the thought to write the book?
I had always said I'm going to write a book someday. I just never knew what it was going to be about. But it gave me the courage and it gave me the vulnerability and the honesty in order to be able to put it onto paper and say, this is me for the
Mhm,
world to read. And then I
mhm.
just did it on Audible, which is a whole different level of saying it out loud to the world to hear.
Yeah.
One thing for them to read it, but it's another thing for me to actually say it out loud. And I would not have had the courage to be able to do that without going through that and having the belief in myself.
Well, tell everybody about your book because I think that a lot of people are gonna be wanting to read it at this point because it just your story and your journey is just amazing.
It is a memoir and it
Mhm.
is called You're on Your Own. It is experiences through the fire department, but it starts from the beginning of my life. My mom, when she read it the first time, she said, I thought this was about the fire hall. And I said, it was to start with, but my life didn't
Yeah.
start at the fire hall. And so that's where
Yeah.
the hypnotherapy gave me the clarity that I actually had a pattern in my life that started from childhood into all of these pieces. And then it ended, in the department. And going through all of these experiences, as hard as they were, gave me the stepping stones that I needed to get to where I am now. So it's showing people that no matter what it is that you go through, you can come out the other side stronger. There is such a thing as post-traumatic growth. And
Yes.
about 10% of people experience it. I am one of those 10%. So I thought, you know what, if I put it in writing and if it helps one person, if they can relate to it, and I've had an outpouring of men and women that have read it and said that you took the words right out of my mouth. It was like you were describing my childhood. It was like you were describing, I don't work in that scenario, but I
Yeah.
worked in different experiences like you.
Well,
Yeah. And being able to show people that you actually can come out the other side, that PTSD is always the stigma that it's a life sentence. And
mhm,
it's absolutely not. Using your experiences as a place of reference and not a place of
mhm.
residence.
And knowledge, the knowledge you gained from it. I had a physician on the show actually a couple months ago, incredible, Dr. Eugene Lipov. You should watch it. And he came up with, he's got his own trauma healing modality that he does, that he invented. And it's called the God shot. And it's an injection he does in the neck, but it's fascinating. And the name, why he got the name the God shot is very interesting. He got that like from one of his patients, but he's an expert in PTSD, and this episode was amazing. It was incredible, and he just had his book, The God Shot, just came
Okay.
out, but he's actually lobbying to Congress to take the D off PTSD.
It's an injury, it's not a disease.
Exactly, exactly, and the stigma that comes with that,
Yes.
he's like, "It needs to be changed." So he's actually, I believe last month in February, he was actually lobbying, going up to Congress to try and get that D taken off of there, so he's
Yes.
fighting for that.
It's important because people get
Yeah,
the label and then or the diagnosis and then they believe that this is just who I am now. I have this
yes.
label. And like I said, it is not a life sentence. It's
No.
fixable. It's totally fixable. It takes work.
Yes.
It's hard. It's really hard, but it's hard to be suffering and to be barely existing all of the time as well.
Yeah.
So, we have to choose our hard. And I can tell you, having gone through it and come out the other side, that it is totally doable.
It's worth it.
It is. And I went well over a decade being injured and didn't even realize it. Like I functioned in a trauma response on a daily basis and didn't even
Yeah,
know it. I just
yeah.
deemed that this is normal. This is just who I am now.
Yeah. Do that when you first got in to your department full time, like when you weren't volunteering anymore, that the chief that had kind of warned you to wait the 3 months, are you still in communication with him?
I am. Yeah,
And he's read your book
he did.
and he
Yeah,
got blacklisted as well, right?
he did. He didn't even know the things that I had experienced. And
Yeah.
I asked him like his thoughts on the book. And he said it was very, like it hurt him a lot because
Sure.
he didn't know that I had gone through so many things, behind the scenes, but I didn't tell anybody because I
Yeah.
didn't want to be that girl. Right.
Was he able to pick up the pieces and land on his feet after that?
He has. Yeah.
Good, good. I hope he's listening, whoever he is, but thank you for having her back and sticking up for her because so many people need that, need to be pulled aside. Like, and it turned out to not be a good experience for you, but it was better than it would have been if you hadn't have waited those 3 months,
It would have been, I wouldn't have had a career.
It would have been
Guaranteed.
hell.
I wouldn't have had a career. And then
Yeah.
near the end of my career, I actually got onto the crew under some incredible leadership. And I was able to, for the very first time in my entire career, to shine and do my job to the absolute best of my ability. I was good at my job. Like I
Yeah.
love being a firefighter and I was really good at it too.
Yeah.
To be able to serve my community the way that I could. As a female, I can see things and do things that guys can't and vice versa. But there are things that a woman can do that that a man can't. And to be able to be there for people in that realm, it was truly an honor. And so
Hmm.
near the end of my career, I had a leader that actually believed in me and I was able to truly shine. And I told him that when I left. I said, I want you to know that I've never had the opportunity to do what I was able to do under your leadership. So I thanked him for that because that was the best way that I possibly could have ended it. The bosses that I had were toxic. And so to be able to have that leader of my crew have my back like that, even though I had, toxic bosses that ended up destroying it in the end,
Yeah.
I will forever cherish the opportunity and the crew that I got to work with as well. They were really, really good men with integrity and honor. I don't paint the entire department with the same brush. There were
Yeah.
brothers there that actually, stood by what a firefighter truly is and what the
Mhm.
brotherhood truly means. And there are some that I am still very close with. I have very close friendships with them. I love their wives to pieces.
Yeah.
And then there are those that removed themselves, which just verified everything that I had been saying from the beginning.
What are you doing now? Besides the
I
fact that you have this incredible book out.
I am living my best life, in all honesty. I am doing trauma coaching and I get to support and guide other people. I teach peer support and crisis intervention courses, and I get to be there through, all of the pieces with departments, with industry agencies that need some support and some guidance when things go crazy and sideways. And
Yeah.
then I get to help women step into their power and show up as the absolute best versions of them and discover who they are.
And hopefully teach men like how to support these women in their lives, you know?
Uh, I do have a few male clients that I've worked with, but the majority of my clientele is women who've given their power away somewhere along the way, who lost their
Mhm.
voice,
Yeah.
and teaching them how to take it back and to stand in their truth and speak their truth and have
Mhm.
the courage to do things that they didn't believe that they could do because of the experiences that they've had that they now identify as, where they felt stuck in their life. And,
Yeah.
I get the honor of walking side by side with them and holding space with them and kicking their butts. I always say I give them a spanking that they need to get out of their
Yeah.
own.
Sometimes you need to hear that to, get
And I
get
think, yes, and I think that's what sets me apart is I've walked the walk. I've done it.
yeah.
So now I have the map and I'm like, here it is. Let me show you the way. I think the personal experience goes a really long way. That was
Yeah.
something that I ran into with roadblocks with therapists and counselors and stuff was
Yeah.
they had never had the traumatic experiences that I was trying to explain to them. And I could see the terror on their faces. Like I was actually traumatizing them by the things that I was telling them.
Right.
And having been there and done that and being able to show people how to come out the other side, I think
Yeah.
is valuable.
I think there's some amazing therapists and counselors and psychiatrists, psychologists out there, incredible, but talk therapy never worked for me. Growing up having, doing that several times with several different therapists and stuff, I just felt like I was talking in circles. Like I didn't feel like anybody was really listening,
I just felt like
and knew what to do,
yes,
quite
yes.
honestly.
And I felt like I couldn't get to the depths of the honesty that I needed to because of there was no relatability with what they knew by textbook and not by personal experience.
Yeah.
So I think that personal experience goes a really long way.
Right, right. And like you said, you walked the walk and you literally went through hell and back with all of this. People that are like, I'm sure there's people that are going to be listening to this that are struggling, especially in their career. And now you know that your career choice was aligned with what your trauma was growing up. It's all a pattern. Mine the same. I'm guilty of the exact same thing. Like, so what is some advice that you would tell people right now that are struggling with this? And it's so scary to think about walking away from everything and starting your life over. What do you do? How do you guide people through that?
You have to get really, really brutally honest with yourself. You have to acknowledge what role you're playing in your own suffering.
Yeah.
And when you do that, then you see things that you can't unsee. It brings clarity to you and then you have a better understanding of the things that need to change. Somewhere along the way, maybe you were taught or told that you don't get to choose, but you do.
Hmm.
When you own your power, you actually get to choose. And that's the most exciting thing that I tell my clients. I'm like, you actually have the opportunity now to be whoever you want to be.
Yeah.
You get to choose.
Reinvent.
Yes. Just because somebody told you, like, people were shocked when I left the fire department because of what it takes to get in to be a
Yeah.
firefighter. They were like, you're going to give that up. You're letting them win. I'm like, this has nothing to do with them. This is about me and finally choosing me for the very first
Yeah.
time in my life.
Yeah. Cause you said
And
you didn't know who the hell you even were
the minute I walked out that door, they replaced me.
with another woman.
No, with another, there's never been another woman there. But you're replaceable at those jobs, but you're not replaceable in your own personal life. So you have to choose you. Get
Yeah.
really honest with yourself and choose you, probably for the first time ever. And it's going to be hard as fuck. Like it is going to be excruciating and painful. But when you come out the other side, the amount of freedom that you have and how light you feel, you'll look back and be like, why did I not do this sooner?
Yeah, and then the things you learn along the journey about yourself sometimes can be shocking and upsetting because we see sides of ourselves that I guess we don't realize. It's kind of like that shadow work, that but that's where the big lessons come in, and that's where you get the why when you really look deep.
And I was ashamed of myself. I criticized myself, the past
Yeah.
versions of me, the things that she chose to do, the secrets that she chose to keep. Now that I've come this far, I look back at all of those versions of me and I am so thankful and so grateful. And I love every single one of them for the
Mhm.
pieces that they had and the roles that they played, because I wouldn't be where I am right now if they didn't.
Mhm.
So I have a special place in my heart for each one of those that got me through and survived and clawed their way through to get me to where I am right now.
Well, and it's probably really helped you with coaching others because like you truly can identify, when you're speaking with somebody about, having that deep work is so important. You cannot bypass that.
No, and I am the first one that will call you out on it. And I would
Yes.
say my clients and
Tough love.
they have a love-hate relationship for me because you can just see, and they're like, I hate you so much right now, because I can see when they're standing in their own way. I can see when they're stopping
Yeah.
themselves, and I'll call them out on it. And I'm like, this is
Yeah.
not for me. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
And then afterwards they're like, thank you. I love you. I love you too.
They're like, I want to hate you, but I can't. But
And that tells me that I'm doing my job.
yeah. 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 Because
Because if
you're not doing them favors, sugarcoating it, or, you're trying to help them escape and get past into the other side of it.
I don't need to give them the validation that they've been seeking from everybody else and
No.
the people pleasing, like we're past that. We're doing this work because you don't want to be that person anymore. So
Right. Right.
I'm not going to give that to you. And I am the strongest believer that everything you need is within you. You just have to get out of your own way.
Yeah.
I just guide them and support them as they start digging within themselves. I'm like, it's there. You just have to
Yeah.
find it. You just need that bum spank to get there.
Yep.
I'll be that person that will challenge you to get there, and I will push you out of the nest and say, fly, because I know you can.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah,
afterwards,
that's
they're
so
like,
powerful. I love that you play that tough love role though, because you need it. And then also sugarcoating things and tiptoeing around things, all that's gonna do is slow down your process.
totally.
You have to like literally jump in head first.
And you got yourself right there. So don't stop now. Like
Yeah.
that's where you feel the most resistance is where you have to do the work. So where
Yeah.
you're feeling that resistance, like break through it. Don't just let it set
Yeah.
you back, because
Yeah.
you're not going to be any further ahead than you were before.
Right. Right.
So people say to me, well, that's not a very good business plan. It's like I don't want to be with my clients all the time. I want you to have the tools and be able to do the work yourself, because crisis and things will always arise throughout your life. I want to set
Yes.
you up for success so that you can handle it the next time
Yes.
and go, oh, I know what to do with this. I've been here before.
Mm,
And instead of it knocking you flat back and you're starting from scratch. And then
yeah.
you just come back when something arises and you're like, you know what? This is new. I don't have a tool for this. And then I will work you
Mhm.
through it, give you some tools, and then I'll send you on your way. I went to a counselor every 2 weeks for like 5 years.
Yeah.
There's no further ahead. And like you
And
said,
one hypnotherapy session made up five
it literally
plus
took
years.
absolutely. And so the same thing goes with my stuff. Like I don't want to spend every single week with you and just take your money. I want you to
Yeah.
change your life.
Yeah.
I want you to be able to show up as the absolute best version of you and kick
Mhm.
ass every single day.
Yeah. And be a trauma rock star.
Yes.
Tell everyone how they can get in touch with you, and I will include everything in the show notes too.
I am very active on Instagram, Fire Within Crisis Services. You can find me on my website, firewithincrisisservices.com. My book is available on Amazon, and I am a one-man show. So I answer all my own DMs. I answer all of the emails myself. I am the secretary, I'm the bookkeeper, and all the things. So you are authentically talking to me, not a bot ever. And I love to have conversations. I
Yeah.
am very active in my stories and stuff on Instagram, and I'm always bringing forth something. And I love to just have conversations. It doesn't require appointments. Just let's have a conversation about it. Let's keep the dialogue going. Let's open the communication up to all of these topics.
Are you familiar with the Phoenix Society?
I am not.
Okay, you should look into it. The Phoenix Society, they're a society, but they're for burn survivors. And they're an incredible organization. And I've worked with them for many years. And I actually worked as a peer supporter for them as well for other, burn survivors. But they have the World Burn Congress every year, which is, I have yet to go, but it's on my bucket list to go to that one of these years. But they're incredible, and they're always looking for people, especially with your background with the fire department, that might be a great opportunity for you to just join the community. And they're very active on Instagram and LinkedIn and things like that. So I would just start following them and see if there might be an opportunity there for you.
Absolutely, I will. Thank you.
They're incredible. So Phoenix Society, I just got an email from them today. They're amazing. Look into it. I think that you would be a really big asset to them, and I actually wanna get more involved with them. It's been a few years for me, but I would like to get more involved with them myself, so look into it, okay?
I totally will. As soon as we get
Yeah,
off, first thing I'll do.
yeah. Yeah, they're awesome. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing your journey, your story, your badass self, and getting, your back to your authentic self so the world can benefit from that, and, I'm just honored that you've been on the show and sharing everything.
And it's an honor for me to be able to come on to your podcast and share with your listeners and with you. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you so much, Lynette. And if you resonated with the show or know anybody that this would benefit, please share and like. And I also want to hear your comments. Lynette and I both would love to hear your comments and how this has moved and touched you like it has myself. So thank you so, so much. The content on this podcast revolves around personal life experiences and is meant to serve as a learning tool. I am not a certified therapist or medical expert. This podcast doesn't offer medical, psychological, or professional advice. If you're curious about your mental or physical well being, feel free to reach out to a licensed healthcare professional for assistance.